CDC is advising that you stay in your home.
We shall walk.
Keep their heads down!
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Carbon, and today we are here to talk about some Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. But more specifically, I want to talk about some of the controller settings. And if you guys are new to this channel and you guys would like to stay up on some Call of Duty news or just some gaming news for that matter, then please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Now, the main reason I wanted to make this video was to really get into the transition from Modern Warfare into Cold War. Now, I don't know about a lot of you, but I had a really tough time in the transition. I was really struggling when I was trying to get the same controller settings from Modern Warfare over to Cold War, but it just wasn't happening. There's something about aim assist on Cold War that just wasn't recognizing the current settings. It always seemed like my aim assist was always being overcorrected by my thumbsticks. Now, I spent quite a good amount of time tuning my SCUF controller to really start working well with Cold War multiplayer. And don't worry, this will still work with your PlayStation 4 controllers, maybe your PlayStation 5 controllers, and who knows, maybe even your Xbox controllers. Now, the controller wasn't the only thing I had to work on. I also had to work on a lot of audio tuning as well for my Astro A40 headset in relation to the game. But just for today, we're going to be talking about the controller settings, the settings that I have, why I have them, and why they could help you as well. Now, again, to start off, I am using a SCUF controller, but it is made basically out of a PlayStation 4 controller. And out of a lot of tuning, this is basically the settings that I have. So to start from the very top, we're going to have the horizontal stick sensitivity and the vertical stick sensitivity. Now, when you're adjusting these, you really want to pay attention to what you had in Modern Warfare. Now, I was both an 8 and an 8 for both of these in Modern Warfare. For this game, I had to change it down just a little bit for horizontal down to 7 and my vertical stick down to 5. Now, the reason I changed the vertical stick down to 5 because it always seemed like I was trying to overcorrect when aiming up and down when the aim assist was helping me, and I would always end up aiming a little bit too high or a little bit too low, and I ended up having to change this one because it just didn't seem like it matched Modern Warfare, or maybe I was just moving too fast and needed to learn Cold War. So once I turned it down to 7 and 5, my movement was absolutely immaculate. I felt like it was back to normal. Now, a lot of you are going to have your own sensitivity that you've had throughout the year. Some of you might be higher, some of you might be lower, but this works for me. Now, for the next setting comes down to aiming down sight. Now, these go for low zoom and high zoom. So as you can tell in the picture, the low zoom is for your iron sights and your red dots and stuff like that, and your high zoom is for your snipers. Now, again, when it came to aim assist, it always felt like I was just overcorrecting for the assist that I was receiving. So I had to change my low zoom ADS stick sensitivity down to 0.7. I had it all the way down to 0.3, 0.4 just to figure out what the differences were. And I ended up selecting that 0.6 and 0.7 really worked out for me. Now, I recently changed it to 0.7 for Nuketown, as Nuketown gets a little bit more hectic and there's not as many long range engagements. I need to move just a little bit, faster from side to side when I'm aiming down sight on my low zoom. And as far as my high zoom, I've tested that down all the way down from 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, and at 1. And after playing a lot, I was able to go from 0.6 to 0.1. I really had to learn these snipers' movements and how I can quick scope or how I can drag scope and how aim assist is going to affect that all at the same time. Now, the next subject that I really want to talk about is button layout. Now, by standard, mine is default because I am using a SCUF controller. But here's why: if you're using just a normal controller with no paddles on the back, you should absolutely be using bumper jumper tactical. Now, here's why. If you're a serious Call of Duty player, if you really play multiplayer, then you know that you need to jump a lot and you need to crouch a lot. But when you do this, you are taking your thumb off the right thumbstick and you are essentially leaving yourself vulnerable. So when you take your thumb off the thumbstick and you're pressing X to jump and circle to crouch, you essentially can't move side to side. Like, you can't aim. You can strafe side to side, but you can't aim left to right. And while jumping and aiming, that is a very, very big advantage in this game. If you can jump while turning and aiming, or slide while turning and aiming at the same time, you will start to get a lot more kills. So by using Bumper Jumper Tactical, your jump button switches from X over to L2. Okay? L2 is what you want to jump with. So that way you can still jump and keep your thumb on the right thumbstick. And don't forget, this is also going to change your slide or crouch to R3. Now, rather than having a melee, which you probably won't do as often, and even if you have a knife in hand, you could still use your fire weapon button, R1 or R2, which I really don't recommend using R2 and L2 to aim and fire with. But after some adjusting, after some time learning, you are going to realize that this button layout for your controller is going to help you in the long run, especially in gunfights. Now that I have explained Bumper Jumper Tactical and how it could really give you an advantage in the gameplay, let's discuss a little bit about the flipped buttons. Now, even on a SCUF controller, I have them flipped. I want to be able to aim down sights with my L1 and then fire with R1. If you're using L2 and R2, there can just be too much play in the buttons. You can never actually rest your fingers on the buttons, and when you pull the triggers, it's not very tactile. You really need to feel that button pressing. So please, if you are dedicated to multiplayer and really trying to get your settings right, really mess with your R1 and R2 and L1 and R2 and really start to learn it, as well with the button layout of Bumper Jumper Tactical. I'm telling you, if you spend time on these two things right here, you will see a massive difference in your gameplay. I promise. Now, to continue on with some more controller settings, you'll see that we have an invert look, which is disabled. You're also going to have your aim response curve type to standard, and your controller vibration is just going to be disabled. Now, controller vibration is really kind of a it's really kind of a person to person. I really don't like it because it can save a lot of battery power, and I'm just not a person that was ever a fan of controller vibration. Now, to continue on under the gameplay segment of the controller settings, you are going to want to have your slowdown and strafing aim assist enabled. This one up here is just for campaign and zombies, so do not worry about it. But as far as airborne mantle behavior, I have that on manual. So I will be able to mantle by pressing the jump button only, rather than automatically mantling on nearby obstacles just by moving towards them. The last thing you want is to be in a gunfight and then out of nowhere you're mantling something. You're just mantling without needing to mantle, and now you're stuck in the mantle animation and you're dead. Same thing goes with grounded mantle behavior. I have it on press. So the last setting was for airborne. This is going to be the grounded behavior. So when you press, you mantle by pressing the jump button while near an obstacle. But if you have it on second press, then you end up wasting a lot of time trying to get into a lot of windows, especially windows. I was getting caught all over the place. It turns out if I just leave this on press, it's a heck of a lot better, even though on second press, you can pretty much guarantee you'll never accidentally mantle something when you are jumping. Now, as far as steady aim behavior, I have this on hold, just like many of you should. So that way, when you hold aim, you're actually just ADSing. Some people like to toggle it to where they can just press the aim button and then unpress it when they don't want to aim down sight. Honestly, I've never done this. I don't know who would. I would just keep it on hold. And as far as armor behavior, I have apply all. And I think this is really going to help as far as Warzone. This is really where this setting is going to come into place when Warzone and Cold War become integrated. Now, when you're holding triangle, you usually just use one single piece of armor. But when you're running around like I do and playing claw, I want to be able to press triangle and consecutively use all armor plates as possible. I don't want to have to actually hold triangle for the entire time. Now let's get on to the next segment of the controller settings, which is under the advanced tab. Now, for the left stick minimum input threshold and the right stick minimum threshold, I was able to change a lot of these numbers and realize that these little thresholds, that little bit of movement on your sticks, could absolutely help with the aim assist as well. I noticed that if I move my stick just a tiny little bit, which is what I want, it might actually overcorrect. But with this tiny little bit of minimum threshold leverage, I can actually kind of adjust my overcorrection as far as my micro adjustments for aim assist. I know that might have been a little bit confusing, but trust me when I say just play with these numbers a little bit, maybe start with the numbers that I have, and just see what happens to your gameplay. Now, for the rest of these settings, such as like controller sounds, obviously you want that disabled. You should be using a headset anyway when playing multiplayer. I mean, some of you probably don't, but controller sounds are just annoying. And again, it can save you some battery. Now, as far as auto move forward, I have this disabled. I want to just move forward when I press up with my left joystick, rather than having to press the joystick up twice to automatically just start sprinting. I don't want that, because there could be an occasion where you're in a gunfight and you are, you're moving buttons and then you press up on your left joystick and now all of a sudden you're sprinting. You don't want that. So just disable that. Same thing for auto sprint. You are going to want to disable the auto sprint. You don't want to push up on your left joystick and then you just go into automatic sprint mode. This means loud footsteps. If you want to just creep walk while pushing forward, that's a good thing. You want to just push up on your left joystick and start walking. And then if you want to sprint, you can press in on the joystick and then you can start making your louder footsteps. But you don't want to move forward thinking you're walking and then automatically start sprinting. Do you know what I mean? Now, when it comes to sprint behavior, I have mine set to toggle because I want to just press to sprint. I don't want to have to press it again to stop sprinting. So basically, when I am done sprinting, I just let go of my left joystick. That's what most of you should have, so I just keep mine under toggle. Now, when it comes to sprint cancels reload, this might be preference, but I had mine disabled and I ended up just putting mine as enabled. I guess it really doesn't matter. When I'm actually reloading, I've actually taught myself to just hit triangle twice, or what we used to call it as YYing on Xbox. Even though I never played Xbox, we just called it YYing. So I just pressed triangle twice and it would automatically just cancel the reload. I didn't have to worry about if I was sprinting or not. So if you guys could teach yourself to just click triangle twice when reloading and you want to cancel it because someone's coming and you got to get back to the use of your weapon, just hit triangle really fast twice and you're automatically going to be able to start firing your weapon again. Now, this next setting is really just for Warzone when it, eventually integrates. The parachute auto deploy, I have that as disabled because if you want to be the first one to land somewhere, then you want to be able to pull your chute literally right before you hit the ground. If you have this as enabled, it's probably going to pull it like 20, 30 feet in the air, and then you got to pull it again to kind of do a small drop. You kind of free fall and then pull the chute again to land where you want. You don't want to have to pull the chute twice. So just disable that shit. Make sure you're the first one to land anywhere you're trying to land and just learn the drop time right before you hit the ground. Otherwise, you're just going to smack the ground and die. And as we near the bottom for the controller settings here, you'll see the next one is equipment behavior. Put this on hold. You want to be able, for example, to press your equipment button and pull out a grenade and then release it to throw it. Now, if you have it on toggle, you have to press the button to pull out the lethal and then press it again to throw. Never do that. Just keep it on hold. And as far as the interact and reload behavior, I actually went between these and I ended up settling on prioritized reload. This way, you may tap square to reload and interact. If both are available simultaneously, though, you will tap to interact and hold to reload. Now, just like Modern Warfare and Warzone, it really kind of started in Blackout when I was getting annoyed with the square button. In this kind of game mode, it's really helpful that you just tap square to reload and not accidentally pick up another weapon or anything, which is what I was doing in Warzone for the beginning, is I was trying to reload and I was ended up picking up stuff. So eventually I would hold square to reload and square would interact and I would just tap square to get into vehicles, tap squares to open doors, and then I would hold square in order to reload. That way, if I was in a gunfight and I needed to reload and I just accidentally tapped square, I would end up picking up something nearby instead of reloading, which was really fucking annoying. But for this game, for prioritized reload, you're able to just tap square and reload. You're able to tap square while interacting with things. But if you want to pick up a weapon, you'll end up having to hold square. So prioritized reload really started to work for me. So I think you guys should be using this as well. Now, this video turned out to be much longer than expected, and I appreciate you guys for sticking it out this long, but I really wanted to break down why I have some of these settings and why they could work for you. I hope it does help you. You'll have to let me know down in the comments. Maybe there's something I've missed, and please stay tuned for that audio settings. I'm going to be working on some more audio, just like I tuned for Warzone. Maybe I can get some good tunings for Cold War, but so far I'm really enjoying the audio in Cold War in comparison to Modern Warfare. So if you guys like this video and would like to see more, or if you just want to stay up to date on some Call of Duty news, then please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also leave a comment. Let me know what I did wrong. You guys always do. It's your boy Carbon. Peace.